I'm able to say I'm attracted to older men because, you know, I lacked that love from my father. Do you think there's anything you have to change from today with your relationship with your daughter? Do you think there's any improvements? Do you think there's anything you'd love to address? Or is there like, how does this conversation make you feel? How are you walking out of this conversation today?
I think first of all, it is terrifying. This conversation is very terrifying to me. And sometimes the conversations that you have, and it leaves you more confused than when you started them.
Yeah.
You know, the other day I was thinking about how I was raised by my father and my mother. My mother and my father, my father was a provider. He used to be called Mundo Mogotekoot. Mundo Mogotekoot. My father knew that he had a problem with keeping money in his pocket. So the first thing he would do when he got his salary was to send my mother to go and get a sack of maize from the market. Because he knew that he's gonna drink all the rest of the money. If he doesn't buy the unga, there's gonna be a problem. One of the other things that my father did was to go and talk to the lady that was selling maize, and created a rapport with her that if my mother went to her for maize, whether my mother had money or not, she will have to provide her with the maize, and then at the end of the month, he will buy the sack and pay the amount that is owed. You see, so that was my father, a very responsible man. Partially, one of the things I remember about my father was coming back at every end month on a Friday from Kisumu, where he was working as an accountant, with fresh fish from Obunga, you know. And I remember they used to be wrapped in a magazine, you know. And by the time he reaches home, the magazine is oily, you know. And then my mother would cook the fish, and we would have a very beautiful dinner. All right. My father, if the money did not go, all of it did not go to alcohol, he would pay school fees. He struggled to pay my school fees throughout my secondary school, you know. So that was my father. There are other things that he did not do, such as carrying me. I was never on my father's lap, not even once. My father was a very cruel man, and we used to batter my mother and do all these things. You see, if you look at that man, one of the things that I've come to realize about that man was that this was a man that was coming into marriage very ill-equipped. And it can be traced to his father, who was also a wife batterer, who is also just as cruel. You know?
Yeah.
So it was a cycle that was going down and down and down. So my brother was a mirror of my father, battering his wife and in alcohol. You see? So you see from my grandfather to my father and to my brother, I could see patterns. I don't know about my grandfather because I don't know his family, but I know about my father. This is a man that was coming from this other man and getting into this marriage, ill-equipped, not knowing. He has not dealt with his traumas from his father. He has not dealt with his addiction. He has not dealt with anything. He has no understanding. In retrospect, what I'm seeing is he's a man that had no understanding of what a family means. He was a man that did not understand that children have emotions, and children want love. Children want protection. But we grew, between me and my father and our kids, we were wild. My father was wild, and then he had wild children under him. And he did not know how to take care of these children. He did not. When my sister got pregnant in Form 2, my father decided that was the end of her education. And that was it. My sister left school in class 7, just a year before doing her KCPE. My brother left school in class 4. myself and our youngest were the ones who had to, by grace, by the grace of the energy of universe, was able to go to Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, up to Form 4. My brother did not go to college. I'm the only member of my family that has got tertiary education. You see, this entire thing is a tragedy.
Yes.
It's a tragedy, and everybody is responsible.
And everyone is suffering.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you can say that what I'm trying to say is that once you decide to do something, you must be responsible around it.
Yes.
And it's your work to go out and look for new information about what you want to do.
Yes.
If you want to start a podcast,
yes.
You want to know about cameras. You want to know about microphones. You want to know about editing suits. You want to know about social media. You want to know about YouTube and how to manage it. That is a decision you've made. You've gotten into this thing. You must fucking go out and look for this information.
Yes.
Now, a lot of people get into marriage and they don't want to look for information on how to be married.
Yes.
You understand? So my father went into this marriage, did not do his due diligence, did not research it, and babies are coming out. He doesn't know how to deal with these babies. He has got a wife. He doesn't know how to deal with them. So he beat her up, thinking that he's one of his children. So when I got married, I decided that I'm not going to beat up my wife. You see, that's a decision that I am now deciding that my brother decided that he's going to beat his wife like his father beat his mother. My father decided to beat his wife like he saw his own father beat his. But I think, so what I'm getting at is that you have to have a responsibility and decide to look for information on the things that you've decided to do. Yes. If you are going to get a house to rent, you need to know that it involves paying rent. Yeah? It involves doing fumigation once in a while.
Yes.
It involves
fixing those curtain rods. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You can decide that you can walk around the street saying, I don't know. But you should know. So in as much as you have your own traumas, at some point you have to sit down with yourself.
It's your responsibility.
Yes, and say, how am I dealing with this thing? You cannot keep beating up a woman because your father beat up women.
Yes.
It's a tragedy. In psychology it will be explained, but for you, you are responsible for the things that you are doing.
Yes.
You see?
And the explanation is never an excuse.
Yeah. And this is the problem I'm having with people that are doing crazy things in the age of the internet. You see, right now, if you Google how to make a marriage work, I mean, Google has got 325 pages. Like you will have to scroll 325 pages on Google
Of information. Yeah.
You see, like how to deal with women. You want to tell me that you don't know how to deal with women? While we have realized that they are petty, they are shallow, they are what, they are in your life. You're giving birth to them.
You have to work with them.
You
have
see,
to be around them.
You have to, okay, you are saying that men are difficult to work with, they are shitty, they are light, they don't wash their socks, but they are here. They are your brothers.
Yeah.
You have to deal with whatever is there. Yeah. That's how we deal with inflation.
Yeah.
You don't run away, do you?
No.
You
don't stop buying the things
you need. You go to the supermarket and look at prices. You are taking responsibility that you don't want to show up at the till and you're suddenly seeing 35,000 and you only have 20.
Yeah. It's
true.
So
why is it that there are people who are always late?
Yeah.
But when there is a plane going to UK, they are at the airport at the time. So Nini, are you really late? Are you really somebody who just appears late?
Yeah.
Ama ni disrespect ya matatu tu uko nayo. Kwa sababu unajua matatu you will always find a matatu at the stage. Ndio maana uko late.
Yeah.
Lakini unajua kani ndege ya kwenda UK
ungeamka jana.
Unajua tu hakuna ndege ya matatu.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
So All these things. So that is a long about way of answering your question about my daughter. For me, I just want to learn all these things. The other day we were talking about periods and you were telling me how am I going to start talking to my, and I had that discussion with my wife. How are you going to figure this out?
Yeah.
And I'm like, the question that is always in my mind, Roberta, is this. When will my daughter say on a podcast later on in life about me?
The way I'm here talking about my dad's.
What will she say on a podcast when she's 25 years old?
Yes.
Because she's going to talk. And I'm probably going to listen. And probably will have that discussion with her on my podcast.
Yeah.
So, there are so many difficult things. Like I was in a country. And one of my friends came with her 2 sons. And the son decided that I am going to be the judge between her and the mother. The boy has never seen me in his life. And he said, my mother is not fair to me. And like, and so mama, and her mother was like just dumbfounded. You see? So again, you can't blame the mother. But it is a situation whereby probably this woman can't deal with this man.
Because a woman can't raise a man to be a man.
Yeah, it is difficult.
It is.
So anyway, that is how life is. In conclusion, I think that new knowledge is very important. Like I always say that I've known so much about women on this podcast than I've ever known in 30 years, in my entire existence. Because when you stay close to people, a certain group, a certain gender, a certain race, you begin to really be intimate with the things they're saying.
And the way they think.
Yeah. When women say that they don't feel safe, a lot of men do not really understand what exactly they mean. Until you hear them telling those stories very intimately. Like as a man, you just get into a matatu and you just want to sit and you don't care about anybody going to deny you peace in that matatu. And you can imagine sitting with a man in a matatu and they are starting to touch your crotch. And you're like, fuck. I can imagine as a grown-up man getting to sit in a matatu and then a woman just wants to dara me in a matatu. I will be like, kwani mimi nimefanya nini kwa hii dunia? Mtu ananitaka kunifanyia hivi. Like that woman that wanted me to go and fuck her at her place.
Very disrespectful. So let me ask this last question. How, as a man, do you feel like the absence of your father, whether it's while he was alive and him being unavailable emotionally, and even after his death, and you had to navigate this world without a father, how do you feel like it has impacted your life? And can you tell the differences? Like, do you think life would be a bit easier or a bit better if you had a dad who took responsibility, put the bottle down, said, this money, let me put it into my family so that, let me work on my depression so that I can be here for my family. Let me just be a present dad. Do you feel like, I know you can't change how things happened, but how do you think his absence has impacted you into who you are right now?
That is...
Therapy session. This is heartfelt with Bobbie. You chose this.
You are eating a mandazi for 10 bob na unasema huwezi pelekwa Java.
Hii mandazi na coffee inaishia hapa. Mkinipata huko nje.
I was with my sister over the weekend and she was telling me something, that the way you are is because of those problems. Those problems taught you how to be a man. there is truth in what she's saying. There's a bit of concern in what she's saying. I came to Nairobi as a partial orphan. Then 5 months later, I was a total orphan, with no money, with basically nothing in this city. And I was looking at some people that were having parents, and I was like, you know the way they shoot the gun when people are starting a 100-meter race, and you feel like they shoot the gun and you're still on your knees and your friends are ahead of you. You see, with no disrespect to those people, sometimes I look at their life and the comfort with which they were brought up, and I see that thing they were not toughened enough for life. And they have remained, they have stagnated, because suddenly they were in this territory that they don't know how to deal with. And their parents are also telling them that you are old enough to take care of your problems. We can only come so far. You see? So you look at that, they don't have the trauma of being raised up. But then they have gotten themselves into this desert, and they're like, I want to go back to my father. You see? So if you are not careful, being raised well can have a very big disadvantage, because you don't know how to toughen up. You have not been toughened up for life. That is why Burale was saying that there are things that you should be able to show a man when they are still living with you. There is a guy who told me that any money that he gives his boy, he has to write him an invoice. That what is the exchange value for what I'm giving you?
Yeah.
Wewe si uende ufagie pale alafu niambie sasa dadi hiyo historia kwenda theater inakuaje. You see? So I find out that it's a double-edged sword. You could have been taken care of very well, but when the caretaker takes steps back, the center can't hold. You are now in quicksand. You see? But if you are left too early, you have toughened up, and you know how to walk on soil, or you know how to put your roots down. Your roots have gone down. The ones that have been taken care of have their roots very shallow, and anything kidogo tu kunyeshe tu kidogo, then problems.
Yes.
So for me, I would say that growing up left me with a lot of trauma. I still have nightmares of me going to school and facing my maths teacher up to date, But being left here in the city to fend for myself toughened me. And for me, I've always wanted to know how to make money. One of the things I fear about so much is having no money and having to depend on people. See, hata poverty, yani sina pesa ya kununulia mtoto wangu chips. So I think it left me with traumas, but it also left me at a very good place where I could take care of myself. I left and went to Rwanda and lived there for 1 year without depending on anyone. In a foreign country. I came back here, figured out how to get a woman in this city to go to church. The church told me to pay money. I didn't have money. I told her, let's go to the Attorney General. We had that one. I told all my friends that if you want to come for my after party, you have to pay the dinner, which is 2,000, and I don't have a shilling. We come huna. There are friends of mine who never showed up for my wedding because they didn't have a 2,000 bob. But I also know that if you don't pay the 2,000, mimi chakula si yangu, ni ya hoteli. My friends always tell me that up to today, the ones that did not show up for my wedding. As a matter of fact, I'm planning to have another wedding.
Oh, please invite me, please.
Yes. So, that's the thing. That's the thing that you should be very careful when your upbringing has been very soft. Because you might have a problem when those caregivers leave. Or you can imagine that your friends your parents have been taking care. Look at somebody whose parents have been taking care of them for so long, like they don't have to think about food. Then these two parents suddenly die in an accident, and you just remain without anybody. Or you go and live with this uncle that is so cruel, you can't even find food. You can imagine what that does to you. But also I think that if you have been raised well, you should be careful, because now when they take steps back, it's going to be very difficult for you. People like Roberta have already taken, they went. You are trying to figure out, how do I live without my mother? How do I, you are panicking, and Kina Roberta are way ahead. Yeah, wanaamka tu, they have got things to do, they travel, they do this, they do that. Way unashangaa sasa nitapata wapi pesa ya kwenda Malindi. That's how you meet that man from Italy. Anakupeleka huko with his
unafurahi
with his saggy cheeks
and big stomach.
Anaenda hapo anakuwa uchi na unashangaa sasa huyu ndo inafaa nilale na yeye.
Si rahisi.
Yeah, na hata amki. You have to,
si rahisi.
Yeah, you have to do several things before time.
And he wants weird things.
Yeah, I hear those white men want weird things. What does that know, the weird thing?
That's a topic for another day. But I really appreciate how you've answered my question.
Yeah.
I was actually expecting a different answer, but like you've captured it perfectly, because it's made me wake up, because now I have to get out of this victim mentality. It's like having no present father figure. It didn't entirely just leave me wounded. It taught me that I can wake up and do these things by myself, that I can get someone to do it. But to be honest, both sides are true. Like, it would be nice if I had that. And it's also nice that I'm able to do all these things for myself. So Mimi, my parting shot would be, as a woman especially, do your things. Make your money, get your own stuff, because I promise, even these men who promise you that they'll take care of you, they get bored. A younger girl is gonna come along, a hotter girl is gonna come along, a prettier girl, or the more learned you become, they don't want you anymore. They want the gullible girls who can pick up and leave anytime. The girl he can tell, let's go to Italy. Na we uko tu hapo unapack bags, hata una pesa kwa account. Mi ukinipeleka Italy lazima nijue tunaenda kufanya nini rada?
Ni rada?
Unaniwekea nini kwa account? Business yangu lazima iendelee kurun hata kama siko mtaa. Vitu lazima zilipwe. Rent lazima ilipwe. Watu wangu lazima walipwe. Vitu zangu lazima ninunue. I can't just pick up and leave off because a man asked me to go. You know? And that's something they don't like. They don't like to see a girl who's amejipanga. They want a girl like that guy called Cam Newton. He was being interviewed on some podcast, and he said he loves poor girls because he can take advantage of them easily. Because there's a clear exchange. Because nikikupea pesa kidogo unafurahi, unafanya vitu zote nataka. So unaona mi dem kama mimi siezi, ndio maana hiyo relationship haiwezi work. Lazima nijue tunaenda wapi, tunafanya nini, saa ngapi, kwa nini, hadi siku gani, na unanipea nini, ndio nikubali. So it's, and I'd also say to the dads, it matters. I'm pushing 30, having discussions about not having a father. It's not fair. Just be present, because I've had to teach myself all these things and years of therapy and I've not even ever had these conversations with my dad, because I don't know how they'll take it. I don't know if they'll deny, but yeah, as a dad, please be present and love your kids, and make sure you create a space for them to be able to be there, to come to you as well. It's important for the father to be present in their daughters and in their sons' lives. And that's our conversation today on Heartfelt with Bobbie. I am so excited and I'm happy about this conversation. I feel like I've let a lot of things off my chest. And I'm so happy with all the answers you've given, honestly. I loved your perspectives. And next time, maybe we'll talk about mommy issues. We see the other side of things.
Mommy issues. So for me, I will just tell the audience that life has a way of giving us things we want and things we don't want sometimes. So trees, they give you guavas, they give you oranges, they give you pineapple, they give you all these things. It's upon you to figure out what to make with what is on the table. You know, I see there are people that go to the fridge, like my wife goes to the fridge anachukua hii na kutua anakula, ana watch Netflix. Anashangaa, kwani ulipata ni kitu ya kukula? Mimi sijaona kitu.
She can make do with what she has.
Yeah, she just goes into the fridge and gets whatever, and she just enjoys and goes to sleep.
Yeah.
So I think that it's important to be aware of where you are and the pain that you're feeling. You see, and what happened to you in the past. I don't think it is fair to tell people to forget about it.
Yes.
And just leave and just go ahead, because kitu inawavuta nyuma. On the other hand, it is also important to say that, am I going to stagnate here, or there is a way out? Kuna panya route. Na hiyo panya route ndo inafaa tuchukuange.
It's true.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sitting with us throughout this conversation as we discussed daddy issues. And if you have any questions, please leave them for us in the comments, and we'll discuss it at a later episode. You can also reach us on our social media. You can message us. You can message me privately, ask us all sorts of questions, and subscribe. Please subscribe to Dialogues with Jagero. Watch hizi conversations tuziendeleze, so that I hope you leave this place with enough information to ask yourself questions, to introspect, to think about things, to see how you can heal and grow and become a better person. So yeah, thank you so much for listening to us today. This has been Roberta Bobbie and Odori Jagero for Dialogues with Jagero. Until next time, toodles.
Thank you. I want